And good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of West Bend Licensing Board for February 20th. Note that we do have a quorum, and we have two items on our agenda. The first being the Licensing Board regular meeting minute for February 6th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion seconded. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And under agenda items for consideration, we have number 2, extension of premise and outdoor service for the Volunteer Center of Washington County, the hub at 303 Water Street.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion seconded. Any questions on this? Hearing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And having no further business for the licensing board, I adjourn by the call of the chair.
I would like to call to order the City of West Bend Board of Public Works for approval of minutes. We have 6 items on the agenda. Approval of minutes would be February 6, 2023.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions or comments? None? There are none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 2, permission to bid contract 2307 downtown Riverwalk covered walkway roof replacement. Good evening, Rick.
Good evening. Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department is requesting permission to bid contract 23-07, the downtown Riverwalk covered walkway roof replacement. This is the connection from Main Street to the new Riverwalk on the north side of the Bend Theater. The scope of work includes tear off of the existing roof membrane assembly, repairs to the roof deck, and replacement with a new EPDM membrane, including insulation, flashing, and all other connections along the edges. This work was not included in the original Riverwalk contract, currently under construction. We will be bidding this as a lump sum. Anticipate a 30-day contract with completion by June 1st. The preliminary estimate is $48,500 and is funded through by approved Phase 2 Riverwalk funds of the existing project budget. That's
Motion to approve.
Second. Any questions for Rick? There are none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Rick. Item number 3, award contract 1-2023, Well 5 building construction. Good evening, Travis.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to get permission to award construction contract 1-2023 for our Well 5 building at 1118 Evergreen Street. The current structure that houses our Well 5 was constructed in 1955, and through the years of wear and tear, state, local, DNR codes and regulations, the way Well 5 structure stands today is not only falling apart, but is not compliant with the latest codes and regulations. Any changes made to the building would require that it be brought up to that code. The proposed new building will provide the needed upgrades to the pump room, the controls, chemical rooms, and meet all the state, local, DNR codes and regulations. The current building on the property will be current buildings, on the property will be raised, and one building will be constructed around the existing well. The new building will consist of earth tone siding, stone veneer along the lower portion of the building, a black colored metal shingle that these resemble asphalt shingles, in all trying our best to make the building aesthetically pleasing as possible to blend into the current neighborhood. 4 bids were received by our engineering firm, Strand Associates, and opened on February 8th. 3 of the 4 bids came in below our pre-estimated budget of $1.79 million. We have reviewed all the bids and also reviewed the qualifications of Mike Caney's Construction, the low bidder. Based on the recommendation of Strand Associates, we find that Mike Caney's Construction is capable of performing the work described by the plans and specifications for the project. We are recommending that the board award the contract 1-2023 in the amount of $1,439,720 to Mike Caney's Construction We further recommend a contingency fund of $71,986. That's approximately 5% of the total bid. And previous budgeted water utility funds will be used for this project. If there's any questions, I'll be more than glad to attempt to try to answer them.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have motion. Okay, Alderman Model.
Yeah, I was just looking at this yesterday, wondering, it looks like, obviously, we haven't worked with this Mike Koenig before.
We have not.
In the recommendation from, I just lost track of it. Strand, yeah, thank you. Did they indicate that they'd done something similar?
Strand Associates has not worked with them, but other engineering firms that they work with, meaning Strand Associates, have contacted them and they recommended them.
Okay, you're feeling comfortable with it though? Yeah,
when we did our evaluation on them, looking at their projects they had done in the past, they're more than capable of handling this.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Jack.
Are there any other questions? Okay, there are none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Item number 4, state municipal agreement for reconstruction of Main Street, Progress Drive to Humar Street. Good evening, Max.
Good evening, thank you. This item is to consider a recommendation to approve a state municipal agreement that we received from the state of Wisconsin. This is for the project of reconstructing Main Street from Progress Drive to Humar Street. So this project is one of the long lists that we've had applications into the state for funding, federal funding, to help complete some of our road projects. And we've been doing this since the West Bend urbanized area was created in 2012. So we request fund from the program called the Surface Transportation Program Urban, so STPU. And from last year's round of applications, we will have 2 projects this year starting in June, which will be the resurfacing of Wesco Drive from Main Street to River Road and the resurfacing of Water Street from Forest Avenue to Indiana Avenue. And we have 2 more projects that received funding or that are able to receive funding. And it's Main Street from Progress to Humar and resurfacing of Paradise Drive from Main Street to about Indiana Avenue. So this item is for the Main Street reconstruction project. I attached the proposed state municipal agreement, and I have the table. I reproduced the summary of cost table in your memo. The city's share in the cost would be covered with budgeted pavement maintenance program funds. So we would recommend that the board and council approve the state municipal agreement and authorize the city engineer to sign the agreements document along with any amendments that would come along, as long as the financial participation of the city would stay at or below the numbers that are in this table.
Second.
All right. Any questions for Max? There are none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5, state municipal agreement for resurfacing of Paradise Drive, Main Street in Indiana.
Thank you again. So this second agreement is for funding of a portion of this project, which is the design portion of this project. This project would have 2 phases, the design phase and the construction phase. At the last meeting of the West Bend urbanized area, various projects in our area were funded, including the Main Street project I just mentioned. And then there was some money left in the pot, and they were looking for another smaller project to fund, but there were none. So they asked the city of West Bend if we would accept to have the design for Paradise Drive funded. You will notice in the summary of costs that you have here that this funding is not shared 80%, 20% like we usually get. It's more like 57-43. However, we feel that accepting this funding would be in the city's best interest if we get the construction funded later at 80%, which would be 80% of a $1.4 million project. So we would recommend approval of this agreement. However, there are some other changes to the West Bend urbanized area in the couple recent months. In December, the U.S. Census Bureau changed the definition of urban area, and it is very likely that the West Bend urbanized area will disappear, which means very likely that we would not have access to that type of funding moving forward starting in 2024. So we've been in contact with SewerPAC and with the state of Wisconsin to understand if we would have the construction funded as we move forward. We don't have the definite answer yet. We have a meeting scheduled for the West Bend urbanized area on February 28th at the county. And this is probably where we're going to find out the final answer. So my recommendation would be to sign the agreement at that time if we have the insurance that we can fund the construction at a later time with the federal funding. So I would ask for permission to sign the agreement if it is in the best interest of the city at that time, if we know that we're going to have the construction funded. I'm asking for permission now so that I don't have to wait and come back to a later meeting, wait a couple of weeks to get to the council, etc. Obviously, if the changes to the urbanized area do not work in our favor for that federal funding, then I would not sign the agreement, and we would tell the state that we'll do the project at a later time with other funding. So with that being said, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I would recommend that we approved the state municipal agreement with the conditions that I listed in the memo.
Motion approved with Max's contingencies.
Okay, any questions for Max? Alderman Allen.
Max, just if we were to go ahead with the design, how long, does the design really have a use-by date, or is this something that when we eventually do this project, because we're not an urbanized area or whatever, wouldn't we still be able to use the same design?
It depends. If we do a design today, we could maybe use it 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, but it will depend on what happens in this area. And it will depend if standards of design have changed. We had that experience before with the Trenton Road Bridge, where we had a bridge design, and then a few years later, when we wanted to revisit the issue, then we had to redesign because standards had changed. Standard can change, site condition can change. So even if we do the design now, I would say that I'm not sure that we would not have to redo it later. In addition, doing the design under this program with the federal funding, we would have to consider more restrictions. With the federal funding, we would have to provide several reports with environmental research, historical research on the site, and we would have to design with certain federal specifications that we would not necessarily have to follow if we were doing it locally. So therefore, the cost of that design, doing it locally, might be lower than even our share currently in this state municipal agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, there are none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 6, relocation order, safety improvement at 3 local intersections.
Thank you. This item is for relocation order so that the city can acquire land and land rights for the improvement at 3 signalized intersections: South Main Street and Decorah Road, South Main Street and Paradise Drive, and Paradise Drive and Silverbrook Drive. A couple years ago, the city entered into a state municipal agreement with the state of Wisconsin to receive federal funding for the design, land acquisition, and installation of upgrades at those intersections. So in order to build the project, we would need to acquire temporary easement and pieces of right-of-way from various properties that are listed in the relocation order. And so in order to continue with this project, we recommend the board and council adopt the relocation order so I can sign the plat and keep moving with the land acquisition portion of the project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions for Max? There are none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
Being no further business before the Board of Public Works, I adjourn by the call of chair.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the CO West Bend Finance Committee meeting. This evening we've got, February 20th, 2023, sorry. This evening we got 2 items on the agenda. First item being the approval of the minutes for the Finance Committee regular meeting, February 6th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Second agenda item is a resolution authorizing the appropriation of funds for downtown Riverwalk West. Looks like we're going to get some information from Mike.
Sounds good, thank you. This evening, we have a reimbursement of $227.54 from the Army Corps of Engineers. This is relating to permitting for the Riverwalk project downtown. When we apply for permits, we have to pay for those. The reality came back that it was determined that we didn't need all the permits we applied for, so we're getting reimbursed $227.54 that we would put back into the Riverwalk account. Thank you.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions for Mike? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. There's no more business before the Finance Committee. I adjourn by the call of the chair.
And good evening once again. I'd like to call to order the City of West Bend Common Council meeting for February 20th. Note that we do have a quorum with all aldermen present and accounted for. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll note that we have 11 items on our agenda, the first being approval of the minutes, the Common Council regular meeting minutes from February 6th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Model and Allen. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And we'll move on to presentations, which is an oath of office for Detective John M. Otte, and we'll have a presentation by our chief. Take it away.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Thank you very much for giving us this time. I know it's valuable, but it's important for us as our department to celebrate career milestones, and this is definitely a significant one for John Otte. John joined our department almost to the date 10 years ago in 2013. And during that hiring process, he identified as one of his career goals to someday join our Criminal Investigation Bureau. Couldn't be prouder. So we're happy to have that day come today. I also noted he expressed another career goal was to take a leadership role and one day be the chief of police. So I'm on my game, buddy. John has not been given this promotion. John earned this promotion. He earned it through our promotional process, which is very robust. Written test, assessments with outside law enforcement executives from around southeast Wisconsin, department grades, and an interview with the Police and Fire Commission earned him a spot on the eligibility list. But where John really earned this promotion is his 10 years as a police officer. The meaning of police officer. John has a reputation in our department as an investigator, as an aggressive investigator. Made his mark mostly on the night shift as a very aggressive OWI and street drug level investigator and crusader to keep our communities safe. So much so that he earned the spot of a drug recognition expert. It's a very difficult training to attend and complete, and John was a drug recognition expert. Took that knowledge for the last 2 years at our Washington County multi-jurisdictional drug enforcement unit where John's been assigned and has done fantastic work. They're sorry to lose him. We're grateful to get him back. So John, well done, and you earned it. At this point, we'll turn it over to Elizabeth to
You can step over to the mic. I have you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, John Otte,
Having been appointed
having been appointed
as detective
as detective
in the city of West Bend,
in the city of West Bend,
Washington County,
Washington County,
swear that I will support
swear that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Wisconsin,
of the state of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully
and will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of said office
of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
custom, John's beautiful family, and I tell you, when they walk up, you're all going to realize what great people and great families we have serving our community. John's family, young John Jr., Amelia, and his beautiful wife Jess are going to be pinning on his badge, and that to our team and our community should symbolize and does symbolize to us how important it is to have family support. Not only to make us great police officers, but we routinely talk about how we need to be great human beings, and there's no finer example. So John, I'm going to take this one from you. You ready, Big Shoots?
Congratulations, John.
Go get him, Tiger. No, like I said.
Good job.
Thanks for having an awesome dad.
Still.
Taking that fiber to the bank.
Thank you again.
Thank you and congrats, Detective. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to the great city of West Bend. And we just got a couple more items here. We're going to move on to the consent agenda, which consists of items 2 through 8.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Model and Kaler. Any questions on this? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And we have no agenda items for consideration, so we'll move straight on to reports, which is number 9, a report by Alderman Dolnick or Model regarding the Plan Commission meeting.
So we had the approval for the site plan of the new well house, which we just voted on tonight. We gave it a grueling going over. And we had some good news about Stinger's Mini Golf on Paradise Drive. They're expanding. They're going to add a building with golf simulators, and they're expanding the driving range, and so it's going very well over there.
Thank you. Any questions for Alderman Dolnick? Then, last but not least, a report by Alderman Allen regarding the Downtown Bid Board.
Yeah, bid board met on February 7th here in the council chambers. Started out with the approval of the minutes, then the financial report. No surprises. We had a presentation of mapping software. After the presentation and the discussion, the bid decided not to move ahead with the mapping software for the downtown. We may relook at that later, but it's currently off the table. Then we had a really great presentation on the historic preservation tax credits from the wisconsinhistory.org. And it basically laid out how businesses can tie into tax credits, both from the state and from the federal government. And so if you're interested in that, if that has some interest for you, you can watch the replay of the bid meeting. I believe that was recorded. So, and then we had a report of the Transportation Committee meeting, which was basically an update of parking that Chief Daring ably did, as well as a brief discussion that we need to relook at this, which we already knew. And finally, we had a report from the Facade Grant Committee. We discussed the fact that we had selected, or we had 4 qualifying projects reported or presented to us, and 1 not qualifying because it was a residence. However, we have advised the residents that there is programs through the County Historical Society for reservation or preservation of residences. And then we have subsequently made awards of 2 projects for a total of $50,000, $25,000 from the bid and $25,000 from Pick Heaters, which is a company in my newly defined district. So they make steam heaters for heating water and foodstuffs in industry. So, and that was our meeting. Any
Great.
questions?
Any questions for Alderman Allen? Then I'll turn it over to any items for the good of the order. Don't forget, tomorrow is the spring primary for the state Supreme Court, important election, so make sure you get to the polls and vote if you haven't already. Any other announcements? To my right? To my left? Then, having no further business for the Common Council, I'll adjourn by the call of the chair. Have a good night.